Welcome to our next episode of Be Alive by Khalid Malik. We are living in uncertain times. So the question is, what do we do? The buzzword at the moment is resilient. We need to be resilient, we need to be flexible, and we need to pay attention to our inward lives and what we do on the in. Because if we look at this, and I've often said this metaphorically, it's like the world has forced us into our homes. But if you could take this analogy further and think of it as the world forcing us to go inward, which is why many of us are finding these times rather scary, uncertain, and we're almost having difficulty being with ourselves. Today, my guest, and I've had the pleasure of meeting him and listening to some of his lectures, thinker, writer, scholar. Now, I'm not sure whether he finds controversy or controversy finds him, but it's one or the other. Joining us right now is Shaykh Arif Abdul Hussein. Shaykh Arif, Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Be Alive by Khalid Malik.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. Thank you for having me.
So which one is it? You find controversy or controversy finds you, or match made in heaven? What is that?
I think likes attract each other, right?
I want to start off with a quote, and this is Shaykh Arif's quote, and I find it very pertinent and very relevant to the times that we're in. And I quote, Shaykh Arif says, "The virus has freed God from the places of worship and placed him upon his real throne in the hearts of people." Shaykh Arif, I get the direction that you're going with this, but a lot of people have obviously misinterpreted what you're trying to say or the essence of what you're trying to say. I want to use this as a springboard into our conversation.
Sure.
How would you explain this quote?
Well, God, whenever he was introduced to humanity from deep within their own consciousness and intuitively, and from the blessed sages that Allah has been sending from time to time, and the blessed prophets, whether we name them through the Arabic names that we have, or the Christian names, or the Jewish, or the Hindu, or the Buddhist names, all these grand people introduced God at a very intimate level to human beings. God was always supposed to be an integral part of life, not somebody who was detached and was to be found at another place. But exceedingly, as we progressed in life, we relegated God and confined him to the places of worship. And in fact, God became what we call a wasta, somebody that we call upon when we need something. So God was pushed away for the times of need, whereas God was supposed to be an integral part of our existence, that he was meant to be the intimate partner upon the journey and the objective at which we arrive. So now with the closure of mosques, this phenomenal event that has happened, that if the Kaaba gets shut and the shrines get shut and the mosque gets shut, we immediately find that, oh my goodness, the one that I was finding there has never left me. As he always says, I'm with you, whether you acknowledge me or not. So it's brought us back to that realization that the real throne of God is the heart of is within the hearts of his creatures.
Acknowledging that he is within our heart, and there's a hadith Qudsi obviously that relates to this, so the heavens and the earth cannot contain me, but the heart of the believer contains me. How does one then begin to establish some sort of connection? Because I feel that the connection has been through bricks and mortar, if I could put it that way. How do we now sort of reestablish that?
Sure. So religion is good. They are very good. But we need to look back at the times when the religions originally came to human beings. There weren't any mosques as such. So God was introduced as an intimate companion to the people who wished to follow the message of God, which was a very liberating message. God instilled within us confidence, liberated us through ourselves. And he said, I will work through you. If you help yourselves, I will help you. But what happens is that we then became very formalistic with God. And we created a lot of ceremonies around God and rituals. Now, with the breaking of rituals and with the breaking of ceremonies, we begin to find that there is still a deep inner calling, yearning, and longing for God. And
Right.
at that now, we are saying that actually, oh Allah, rather than finding you through a particular ritual, I know I am in a dire state of need. And inwardly, I know you are listening to me. So, what has happened here is that we've been brought to our senses. You see, God says in the Quran that when you are in stormy waters and you lack control over the situation,
Right.
immediately the break and you begin to see me. At that point, your control has diminished and you implore upon me. That is the point where we find the real God that has become hidden within us due to our illusionary sense of feeling that we have control. So when control breaks, we revert to God into a very deep level. And this is what I'm trying to say, that here now, the way to find God is for us to revert within ourselves and to say, oh Allah, if you are a God, and indeed you are, and if you have placed such mercy in the heart of my mother, then she is a mere reflection of your unending mercy. If you have placed unconditional care in the heart of my friend, then you are a friend of all friends, O Allah. Let me not pretend in front of you. Let me be very transparent. I am scared. I do not know what will happen, but I do know you know what is happening. I know you control the situation.
Yeah.
Allow me to trust you. Allow me to accept your discretion. But even at this point, I find that as human beings, we make bargains with God that, oh Allah, if you do this, I will do this. That is not the way. That
No.
is not the way we love our God. We say to God, like his blessed prophet said, oh Allah, if you take me, then what can be better for me than to come back to you? If you spare me, then do so in a way that my life is pleasing to you. Or as his grandson Imam Hussein said, oh Allah, do not allow me to yearn the hastening of a decree that you have chosen to postpone, nor allow me to beg you to postpone a decree that you have chosen to hasten. We need to come to that beautiful level of trust and companionship with God and find him at that level.
You know, a lot of people, I mean, there's a portion of society that says, you know, with the closure of mosques, etc., that this is, you know, the azab, as it were, and this is a form of punishment. You know, I don't see it that way, but and I dare say that you don't see it that way. But what would your response be to that way of thinking?
Yes, of course, of course.
Mm.
An instructor only tests the student in order to bring the best out from the student. Our great instructor, our God, our great parent, our God, only tests us to bring us to the fullness of our humanity.
Mm.
Now, if you look in history, the Spanish flu that was 100 years ago, it
Right.
affected a quarter of the world's population. At that point, we were 2 billion.
Mm.
500 million people were infected with the Spanish flu, and
Right.
100 million people plus perished. Before that, we had the bubonic plague, which took again over 100 million people, which was the quarter of a world's population.
Correct.
Before Genghis Khan and Halaku Khan and their invasion, they totally devastated the Muslims. In all those times, we came out better, more resilient, more empowered. We found the true God, not a
Yeah.
God that waves a magic wand and rectifies the situation, but a God who brings the best out in us and makes us his hand and sees us through the situation through ourselves. God takes utmost pride in us and in our abilities. Imagine We were in caves, dark caves. There was no miraculous electricity that was supplied to us. We
Right.
created. We were faced with the roaring waves, and human beings used to worship the waves in awe of them. Today we subdue these mighty waves. We wondered and marveled at the skies, and we worship the stars and the sun and the moon in adoration of
Mm.
these great beings. Today, we cast our nets upon the heavens, and we have captured them in the palms of our hands. Now, the beautiful way in which the Quran describes this situation is that due to what human beings are doing,
Mm.
evil and corruption has spread upon the land and upon the oceans.
Right.
And then the verse says, so that we may give them to taste a little bit of what they have earned. So
Mm.
whatever is happening to us is because of what we have done. But what is the aim of God in that? The verse
Mm.
finishes by saying, لَعَلَّهُمْ يَرْجِعُونَ, so that they might turn back to us and become mindful once again. They have lost
Mm.
their way. They have lost their way. Tap their hands. Give them a little bit of a warning so that these little children become mindful again and do their homework and get the best out of them. The teacher often does this. The parent often does this. The
Yeah.
parent of all parents is doing the same thing. So in these crises, it is not to be seen as adab. If anything, this is to be seen as the biggest rahmah. Think about it. The way the human community was and the way we have been. My
Mm.
goodness, the way we consume, the deforestation, the CO2
Yeah.
emission, the pollution. Had we been allowed to continue the way we were, we would have destroyed the earth, the mother earth of ours. She's our mother. With all its species, we would have ruined the atmosphere. Had Allah not cautioned us through what we ourselves have done, we would have destroyed everything.
Yes.
Now the earth is breathing again. The marine
Mm.
life emerging. The ecology is coming back to its natural equilibrium.
And I can
We,
see that happening too, right before my eyes.
the people who never have time, we
Yeah.
always fought against time. We created
Mm.
machinery to give us more time, and time always won, and we never had any time. It always evaded us. Allah has given us back all the time that we
Yeah.
want.
Subhanallah.
Today we want to care for the poor that were always living next door to us, and we were never mindful of them. Think about it. It's not an adab, it's rahmah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The amazing thing with the Muslim and the religious mind is this, that we are very lazy and we are very complacent. I remember there was a hurricane that came upon America, and all the Muslims said, this is adab, this is adab. And then the floods came in Pakistan and they say, this is rahmah, this is rahmah. So
Mm.
this is the way the religious people think,
Yeah.
that the one they consider as being the enemy of God, whenever wrong befalls them, it is adab. And whenever bad befalls themselves, they say it's rahmah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Mm.
It is about time humanity realized that beyond Islam and Christianity is a religion of all religion and no religion. And that is the religion
Mm.
of humanity. Then religion of
Mm.
beloved, the one that is ours equally. Without color, he creates color. Without gender, he gives gender. Without religions, he gives religion. The aim is to transcend all of these arbitrary
Subhanallah.
features and find that universal,
Yeah.
harnessed beauty. And that's the opportunity at hand. Make no mistake, we will come through this. But
Yeah.
I only fear that if we come through this and we don't learn our lesson, then that would be such a waste. Allah is
Well,
giving
that
us
was my
another.
next question. Do you feel that we will come through, inshallah, unscathed at the other end, but as a changed species?
I certainly feel humanity's trajectory is in a way that we are becoming more refined and better through our inner nobility. Always, a few amongst us have dictated the agenda for the rest of us. These few have been the insecure heads of states or the self-righteous
Mm.
heads of religion. But the rest of humanity has been steadily evolving in humanity and godliness. I really do feel that at every stage, humanity has come through trials and has been better than what they were previously. I've always seen this. And in the course of my own life, I have seen that no, humanity is good humanity. The 8 billion people are good at the core. They are good people. And I think this is a reminder that they have that inner light, and they will allow it to come to the fore in a most brilliant way. Of course, we will not become angelic. We will make further mistakes, but this is the course of life. We make mistakes, we fall, we stand, and we learn to walk better than what we did previously.
Sure. In closing, your sort of, we live in a world where we want things to be said to us quickly, timely, and tell me what I can do right now. I haven't got time for this. And now we've got all the time in the world. But your top 3 take-home advice for anyone that's listening that they can start implementing in their day-to-day lives right now.
The first thing is that we need to find ourselves. It's an odd story. We are all dreaming. We are in a deep state of sleep. We need to awaken to say we are in a transitory sort of a life, and the time is ending. I need to find my own self. I need to be one with my beloved. Spend time reflecting, chanting the names of Allah, being mindful. 2, begin to learn. Look at the beautiful world that Allah has created. Learn about it. Watch the Natural Geographic channel. Watch the History channel. Read books. Learn. Increase the knowledge base. Then care for this beautiful earth of ours. She is our mother. The species, the plants, these are gifts of God to us in our greater family. And 3, become one with the human family and transcend religion, color, gender, statuses, biases. There is no poor, there is no rich, there is no sick, there is no healthy. There is no Christian, there is no Muslim, atheist or theist. This is one beautiful reality of God. Transcend limitations and begin to view that beauty. Do not consider your brother in blood as your brother. Consider human being as your family and look after them, share with them. If we can do this, by God, we have achieved at least something for what we were created. And at least when we go back to God, we can say, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity of life.
I love it. And this is a moment or an opportunity for transcendence. Shaykh Arif, thank you very much for joining me this episode. Look forward to more of your humor, more of the lectures soon, inshallah. Thank you so much for joining me.
My love to all your audience and my salam to them all.
Alaikum salam.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.